welcome back. This is episode 4 of our Unfiltered Race Fans Only podcast. Daytona 500 race weekend. We had all 3 series on track to open the first race of the new points format where every
Awesome
point
market.
matters. Yep. So we had trucks, Grand National Series, because this O'Reilly Auto Parts, whatever nonsense, nopes, just is going to be ridiculous. I'm with Kevin Harvick on team the Dunn committee. Just call it Grand National. Give it its own sense of identity. That way, it's sponsor agnostic going forward. Just like there's the Bill France Cup and the Cup Series,
Yep.
same thing. And then we have our primary meal, the Daytona 500. So NASCAR, as always, before we get into each race, is not without a sense of irony. It seems like every time something could happen that's either a feel-good story or wouldn't it be funny if this happened. Last year with the leading into the lawsuit or the trial of the lawsuit, wouldn't it be funny if Denny Hamlin won the title and then got to go into the courtroom? Well, he was within one green white checker to that happening, and the universe corrected its dropping of the ball in that scenario and said, "Watch this and hold my beer." So we get front row, one of the defendants, they win the trucks. Then you get Richard
RCR.
Flores. It was a clinic from Austin Dillon, and they win the Grand National race.
That's
They
not Austin
dominated.
Dillon.
Austin Hill. And then we get to the piece de resistance, the biggest trophy of them all, literally, figuratively, and weight and scale. And then the biggest, now it's back to being like a more specialized event. The chief proponents of suing NASCAR win their second crown jewel in 6 months. And so 2311 wins and runs well all weekend and wins the Daytona 500. So the universe definitely delivered on irony across the board to open the NASCAR season. So that was
Thank
thanks,
Chris for
Chris,
bringing that to light.
Yeah, thanks, Chris, for reminding us of that. I didn't really look at it that way right off the bat, but all 3 were integral parts of the NASCAR lawsuit in the off season in various ways, and in true karma fashion, all 3 of them won the opening events in one way or another for this season. So Blake's got here our weekly advertisement, make Prime primary till we can get rid of Fox and NBC. I'm all for it. Got body armor because go Team Blaney. And we're gonna have to have competing drinks, so let's do it. So let's start with the trucks.
Yep.
Tony Stewart comes back. Tony Stewart, like before we even get on track, you got Tony Stewart's press conference, and it's just a reminder of how much God we need this man. So he's asked in the press conference by Bob Pockrass, have you, in some roundabout way, have you seen the NASCAR executives? He talks about Steve O'Donnell, who said we along with Steve Phelps, who is, it's February now, he's no longer with us. Bye, asshole. Nobody misses you. Maybe the NASCAR, maybe within the garage you are, but the fans, we don't. So Bob asks him, have you had a chance to talk to, Steve, Ben Kennedy, yada, yada, the NASCAR brass? And Tony more or less alluded to, I don't need to see those clowns after what they said about my series and all his Tony Stewart-esque undertones. I wish we had Chip on this because I would love to hear Chip's perspective on just this alone. But as only Tony can do, he roasted the sports leadership right out of the gate and reminded them, like, I'd said I wasn't coming back here. And he vehemently and very clearly stated he would never run the Daytona 500 again. He is perfectly happy with having a 0 in that column on that resume and does not care. And that if he does run into the NASCAR leadership, well, then we'll deal with that then. So I can only assume, based off of the lack of rumblings out of the garage about any encounters, that on trucks night, they probably did their absolute best to stay away from Tony Stewart, wherever he may be, whether that was in the infield care center when he got taken out, unfortunately, early in the race, or during the press events. So what was your reaction just to that part first, before we even get into the racing? Just Tony being Tony.
Tony being Tony was great. Kind of shows it shows the people that don't really pay attention to sport much. It shows them how much disdain he has for the leadership of the sport, not for the sport itself, but for the leadership.
Yep.
And it kind of shows why the lawsuit even happened last year.
Yeah.
So I thought it was great. I watched it a couple times just to get some laughs in.
Yep. Here's a guy that not 2 years ago owned a four-car team, and not before that had already collected two owners' titles, um, several crown jewel events of their own, and now he's back for this one race, mostly because of Ram, if
A
not
favor to
entirely because
Dodge.
of Ram Dodge. Otherwise, there's no way he'd be in there as like a one-off all-star.
Yeah.
Uh, so, yeah, I just that opened the weekend with fire for sure. To
Hmm.
see just how, like, again, I hadn't expected those comments, but I wasn't surprised by them based off of
NASCAR was having to dodge bullets.
yeah, they were literally from Dodge drivers having to dodge bullets. So,
And so start up the truck race.
yep,
I want to start with the starting lineup. Minnie Tyrell won the
race
the
for the seat.
show
Yep,
race for the seat, and then he had to use their first provisional Dodge provisional to start 41st because they weren't fast enough in qualifying.
yep,
So they only had to use one, so that's one plus. It's
yep. Out of
crazy that
five
his
trucks, they only
his
used one, so that's good.
his truck didn't make speed, but Tony's started 12th, I think, or
Yeah,
15th, or something like that. So like, it's kind of weird that the same team had that varying difference in speed.
yeah. You would have thought they would have all come out of the gate fast. I don't know if that was maybe Minnie Tyrell's truck for him handling wise, at least for their data and testing, that he couldn't run a similar or as loose a setup because the trucks and the Grand National cars you can run the traditional style. So maybe he just wasn't able to run as loose a setup, which would give him speed. He maybe needed more downforce in it, more drag.
And I do want to say to kind of talk about that real quick, the whole win your seat deal. I know he won it fair and square, but I feel like the guy that finished second was the better candidate.
Yeah, I would agree. Um, Based on the parts I watched, I would agree.
Yeah. I feel like I get he won it. He won it fair and square,
Yeah.
but the other guy was a far better driver in my opinion. I hope he gets enough. I mean, I know he's gonna run Martinsville in the
Yep.
25, but I hope when he runs Martinsville that he kind of earns his way into the fold for maybe next year.
Yeah, I liked Um, I actually liked the fact that they did this race for your seat deal with Ram coming back. You had your selection of guys you already had predetermined, and then, all right, there's so many viable candidates out there that you at least think might be a good, behind the wheel option for you at this level to come and earn their way. And yeah, I just think it's a good thing for the sport in general. It creates water cooler talk. If for those that watched it, I do think once again I've got YouTube TV, so I don't know how it was for regular, more traditional broadcasts for those that have cable. But I will say, we knew this was coming since last year. I don't recall seeing, but right up until the push for the races, very much about it. And they were filming it all behind the scenes. It would have been nice if they were doing it in real time and releasing it week to week as they were doing the
Yeah,
thing, as opposed to kind of canned releasing it off the way they did.
yeah,
I think you would have built up again, like I criticized the marketing for the duels. Um, I don't think they did enough to market this race weekend as a whole. Being
yeah.
it's the big opener, it's NASCAR's opener. The Super Bowl commercials were very timid and lame, and usually that's where you see all the NASCAR stuff come out. And I don't even recall seeing a NASCAR commercial during the Super Bowl. I don't know if they did. If you saw one,
Well, you're not going to because it was on NBC and
or
we had
CBS.
out
Yeah.
Fox.
Yeah, but still, I mean, you're getting ready to kick off your season and you've got all this momentum. I would have expected, but you've got a new points format. You're going with the hell yeah, we're back. Earlier in the week they had the we're gonna play the loudest engine out over, all these different things. And
Loudest billboard.
yeah, loudest billboard ever. I just expected more leading into this weekend, separate from just the truck race. But
Yeah.
so, all right, so moving on through the truck race, so we get what about 20 laps or so in, and then
Hold
Tony
on,
gets.
hold on.
Yeah,
We
go ahead.
get 3 laps in, and
Oh yeah,
YouTube superstar, uh, with Cletus McFarland
yep,
loses the little bit of talent he does have and wrecks off of turn 4.
yep.
I just the guy wrecked in his test session at Rockingham. I
Mm.
mean, I get he's great for TV, but I'm done watching him. He has all he does is wreck.
Yeah, he
He
needs
said
another. He needs
he
another
did
season in
decent in
ARCA.
ARCA for once. He did decent in ARCA for once in the Daytona race,
Yeah,
but I mean, he doesn't have it. He
is
doesn't
he
have it.
running? Do you know if he's running ARCA again this year full time?
I don't know if he's got a full time ride or not.
I bring that up only because I agree with you. He needs more seasoning because he didn't grow up racing stock cars. He didn't come up through the traditional method, and you see it. Um, to your point, he's a YouTube superstar, and we'll get to it in the Grand National with Natalie Decker and some of the others. Like, even though Haley Deegan's a big name, for example, she's back down in the touring series to kind of rework her way up through there. Meanwhile, Cletus, I want him up at the top as
He,
fast as we can get him from
he's
a
only
viewership
doing
standpoint.
5 races in ARCA.
Okay, so he's only doing 5 races in ARCA, but I mean, from a viewership standpoint, I want him on there as soon as possible. From a competition standpoint, I don't want anybody at any level out there that's not ready because you're taking away from the people that are ready and are out there and it's serious business at all these levels, especially at the bottom two, where I don't know what the trucks contract looks like from a monetary standpoint compared to because the last NASCAR major marketing deal that involved both Grand National and Cup, they were a package deal where trucks
Yeah.
wasn't packaged with that. So, but we do know because we hear it all the time that it's actually almost cost prohibitive to run a truck. So if it's that,
Yeah, our friend Kevin told us
yeah,
it's more expensive to sponsor a truck
then
than
it
it
is
is
to get on.
a
Yeah,
Grand National car. Like what?
yeah, you wouldn't
They
think that.
don't. Their purses suck,
Yeah,
and it costs more to be on their car. Like why would you want to or
yeah.
truck?
So,
Like, it doesn't make sense.
so with that in mind, I don't want to see a bunch of buy your ride people out there, whether that's a Cody Ware or a Jeremy Clements or him or Decker, or I just don't want to see that. I know that's how our sport is today at the lower levels, especially. Um, Hopefully, with the change at the top of the ladder with the charter system, if and when something like that works its way down to Grand National and to trucks, it will allow them to hire the talent they want, not the talent they have to have based off a financial standpoint. So I know that's the
Yeah.
long-term goal, but so anyway, back to the racing. So yeah, Cletus biffed it. No pun intended toward his buddy Biff that has now since passed away. But they did bring up the fact that uh, Carson Hocevar, I don't know if it was supposed to be in confidence or not, they said, but gave Cletus some advice, and he basically said, if you're causing the wreck, you're usually not in the wreck. Okay, well, that's probably not the advice you give to the guy who doesn't have that much time on track to be out
Yeah.
there. He really just needed to be focusing on finishing all the laps, protect all four corners of your truck, follow the guys who know what they're doing. If anything, you probably should have been following like a Tony Stewart or you know any one of the experienced guys that are typically in the top 10. The not Ben Kennedy, but Ben Rhodes. The guys that know how to get to the end of these things and are in the discussion year after year, following Chandler Smith, who would ultimately end up winning it. Uh, so let's move on through. So Cletus Rex, keep on going.
So I think what was it? I think you said lap 25 is
Yeah, around
when the
23,
25
25.
truck gets run
Unfortunately.
into, and we lose Tony Stewart real early in the race. Just
Yeah.
our buddy Chip had to go to dinner.
Yep. Unfortunate, for Tony. I'm sure he couldn't get out of there fast enough. I think he already agreed to come back and do it again next year to the
Did he?
team. Yep. So we'll
Wow.
see. I thought I read that somewhere. I was like, I really didn't think he'd come back after that, but we'll see. But if he does, I'm here for it. Because the trucks draft much like the old Cup cars that he enjoyed racing with, and the Grand National cars he and Dale Jr. raced with.
And if I'm not wrong, I believe they're going to be going to composite bodies next year, the truck series.
Okay,
If it's
and
not
that
next year, it's 28, but I'm pretty sure it's next year they're going to composite bodies.
yes, it's 27. You're right.
So maybe
Yep.
a rough up like he took this past weekend wouldn't be as substantial as it was.
Yeah, because
Like
we saw.
it looked like he barely hit the wall, and the thing looked like it'd been, hit at 500 miles an hour. It just was destroyed.
Yeah, the steel bodies always get pancaked, and you saw. I don't want to skip ahead into the like what happens in the Grand National race just yet, but you saw when was it Day? Yeah,
Yeah,
when
Corey
Day's
Day.
car was damaged and they went to push him, you saw that composite body panel completely bend and crunch, and as soon as he left
Mhm.
off to it, it popped
It
right back into
came.
place.
Yep.
And so that is the benefit of composite bodies from a standpoint of something for like the trucks with Tony Stewart. If he walls it, assuming the damage not too severe mechanically underneath, he could keep on going, and he's not in an aerodynamic disadvantage for the
Yep.
rest of the race. Where very much so for these trucks, he said he couldn't drive it. It was totaled. So, all right, let's keep going.
So I don't really remember much after that. I do remember the finish. Uh, Chandler Smith comes off of turn four and fifth on the last lap,
Mm-hmm.
and the leaders decide to go Odelay and give him the bottom, trying to and block high and everything, and he just goes down low and takes the win away from everybody coming off. Like I said, come off turn four and fifth, and win the truck 250 race. Is pretty good show there at the end.
Yeah, I was surprised that they opened it up, and we saw. So Hocevar ran this race too, and he did really well.
Mhm.
Kind of gave you can tell he's learned, he's developed quite a bit of skill in the last few years at these races. So he's been doing his homework. But yeah, Smith was back there, and then they all decided to go three wide. And here he comes blowing down by the bottom, and he just zoom and takes the win. So that's the
He
first
did the
of our.
same thing Tyler Reddick did Talladega a few years
Yep,
ago in Cup.
yep,
Everybody blocked high, and he's like, "Deuces."
yep. So there's our first win of the trio of lawsuit participants, front
Yep.
row. Which I didn't think Chandler Smith was going to be back initially but he's got a full time ride. It was public, not just leading into last year, but from the year before, where he's definitely got the talent.
Yeah, the
Definitely needs to
talent and
be,
the sponsorship dollars.
yep, talent, sponsorship dollars. Needs a little media training, if you will,
Hmm.
from what you hear when you're listening to Freddie Kraft and Chris Rice and some of those other guys. But it definitely has the pedigree behind the wheel to get it done, based off what you've seen in the various series with him. So good for him.
Yep.
That should secure him another year. Just winning a race is hard to do, but it sets him up for a strong. He's got 65 points to start the season, and in this new points format, it's going to be really hard to dig yourselves out of a hole. So a strong start is going to be very important for everybody across all three series. So now let's
And
move.
even it's
Yeah, go
even
ahead.
more important in trucks
Yeah,
because you're not going to have 10 races to catch whoever the point leader is. You're going to have, was it seven or something like that?
for
So
their chase, I want to say it's 10, 8, and yeah, I think 7. They don't get the full. They're not going to get the whole deal. So let's look. Good point. Let's bring that back up. Let's get down here to the end.
It is one, two, three, four, five,
Yep,
six,
they get
seven
seven
races.
races. So they don't have as much, that point advantage he'll have, or that this sets him up to build toward for the regular season is going to be very critical because there's only seven playoff races. And it says playoff, but really it's seven chase races. So out of the
Well,
seven,
on,
that's the
on
seven.
J-Ski, the better
Yeah,
website, it
yeah,
says the chase begins.
yeah. The chase begins, but so sets him up for a strong kickoff. And really, when you scroll down, the truck schedule is not that long.
And
Uh,
O'Reilly is 9 races,
yep. All
which
right.
is kind of which is kind of interesting.
So moving into the O'Reilly Grand National Series, honestly,
Austin Hill sits on the pole.
yeah, Austin Hill sits on the pole and he sits on everybody's face.
Yeah.
It's like, kiss my ass. I'm going to show you how this is done. Honestly, so I sat there in my sister-in-law's house as we're house sitting, and I'm watching this race. And I am talking to multiple groups. And as I'm watching this, I'm hearing Dale Jr. in my ear from all his podcasts where he talks about why are y'all going to let this man go up here and beat you every time? Like none of them could get their head out of their ass and work together to beat him. And it was a clinic. And it's not to
Hmm.
take anything, and I'm definitely not taking anything away from Austin Hill. Like he has definitely gone to school and done his homework. He's watched Dale Jr., he's watched, Stewart and Brad and all these guys year after year, and Joey, the guys and Hamlin that know how to do this as and what to do, and he has committed that to memory. And
And
clearly, the
they've
other
given him
guys,
the name Pied Piper, just like they did Junior back in the day.
he comes in, gets four tires, he's back there in 12th, and within like 2.5 laps, he's back to the lead.
Hmm.
And it was like they weren't even trying.
Yeah.
And the tires meant a difference, but they weren't that much of a difference. Like it was
No.
just his skill in the drafting is just unreal. Um, and it was like the other guys didn't even want to win. Honestly, his biggest challenge was his own teammate, and even
Well,
his teammate did.
they would rather wreck each other than
Yep.
get in his way. Like it made no sense at all. Honestly, when there was another wreck with 5 to go or something, I've been dealing with something with my eye, and I was like, you know what, I'm done. I got to work
Yeah.
in the morning. I, I turned it off because I already knew he was going to win.
Oh yeah.
Everything that I'm seeing, there's no way they're going to get around him. So why am I even watching?
Once he got back to the lead, I was like, it's over.
Yeah.
Unless somebody turns him, and they got to get to him to turn him, and they couldn't even get to him. His car reminded me very much of the years we had in the late teens where Joey and Brad and Dale Jr. specifically, when those three could control the lanes, and the other guys, every time they get near him, it would just push him out further. His car was just that trimmed out, and it was handling that well. And you pair that with his skill, they couldn't touch him. And in that regard, it truthfully made that race boring to watch in a lot of ways because he just he had just such a dominating control over how it played out.
They showed a stat during the race, laps led on drafting tracks.
Oh yeah,
He's been in the series for 4 years.
that sounds right. Yeah,
Been in the series for 4 years, and he's already fourth all time.
and he's won like 13 of these things at this point.
Yeah, like he's got a lot of laps to go to catch up to Dale
Yep.
and Dale Jr. But that's insane. 4 years in, and you're already fourth on the leaderboard for drafting tracks. I mean, I get Atlanta's helped you the last 2 years a little bit, but
Yeah, yeah.
still,
You've added two more shots at it.
I mean, we're talking Earnhardt ran all these Xfinity races or Busch Series races back in the day where, he was leading all these laps and everything. And we're talking years to get there, and he's already halfway there to
Now, I
where
will say it
Earnhardt is.
does help his numbers to the fact that he's not having to race against Cup guys every time this happens. He's not having to race against.
I
akin
don't think
to.
it would matter.
No,
Those
no,
those
no,
RCR cars.
no. I agree. Those RCR cars are stout. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, like it took. There is a factor of him not having to race against the guys that are racing on Sunday. If I would love to see with this car and his skill level, I'd like to see him against Dale Jr., Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney. Like, let's see how good he really is,
Yeah.
and put him in those cars against those guys who know just as well as he does what the air does with that style of car. And let's see who comes out on top. I think it would
If
be, I think he would hold his own, no question. But I think it'd be a hell of a race. And I think those, truthfully, if you had, let's just say three of those guys out of that pool get in there, I think they would be in a group over here by themselves, and the rest of the pack would be back here
mhm.
because they would pull away that much and they'd just be splitting it up amongst themselves. Um, but yeah, he was so dominant. There really isn't much to talk about with that race. Truthfully, there were some big wrecks, but
So
it,
you brought up the Corey Day thing. That was
yep,
an insane save. That save was
yes,
top notch.
yep, that save. Um, you know, I will say I don't like it when teams run dual paint schemes. I would have preferred Corey Day and Caruth weren't running the same damn paint scheme because it was hard to tell who was who when
Be
they
used
were
to it.
doing
It's going to be happening all year long.
it. Yep.
88
So,
and 17 are going to be the same paint scheme
yep.
all year.
I'm not a fan of that, but I mean, whatever it takes for sponsorship, so be it. But yeah, I
I,
don't like that.
I'll say it now and I'll say it next year and the year after. I mean, there was a press conference when Larson is signed through 3031, I think it
Yep.
was.
Yep.
And
First free agent off the
they,
board, and well, no, second in Cup.
not just him, but Chad, well, Cliff,
Yep.
well, my team, and I can't think of it. Cliff was signed 5 more years, and they asked Rick Hendrick at the press conference about the paint scheme, and he said, "I don't care what they do. If they want to change it, they can change it." And the head of Hendrick Automotive Group says it's not going nowhere. And Larson said, I won't push to do it." It's like just squeeze their necks. Like
Mm-hmm.
75% of the fan base of that team wants a new paint scheme,
Yeah.
and you all don't give a shit. Not one little bit.
Yep.
Like I get all through the 90s and 80s, everybody had the paint scheme all year long and for a couple of years, but we we need something new. And they're like, no, we're not doing it. They need
Well,
to at least reverse it. Make
yeah, I'd
the
like to see
blue
him for a
white or
nighttime
make the
flip it.
white blue.
I'd
Yeah,
like to see
like
him
do
flip it for
something.
nighttime, and I would like for him to. If you're not going to change it, okay. Can we at least get the foil red numbers? like Chase has gone to foil blue numbers for his 9 for
And
the
the
night.
24 is back to the day glow yellow.
Yep. So I'd like to see the Larson car get the foil
That's what
red
I
numbers.
kind of I don't like the day glow, but I kind of wouldn't mind to see for 1 year at least the numbers be day glow yellow like they used to be. The
Yeah,
Hendrick yellow, whatever that yellow is.
it's like a Dayglow yellow. Yeah. Um.
But yeah,
So
anyway,
so yeah, the Grand National race, the Austin Hill, 300 clinic, uh, invitational, if you want to call it that.
pretty much
And we're gonna go do it again next week. I
the
see no reason why he
RCR Invitational.
won't. I don't see a reason why he won't win next weekend too, or this coming
It's
weekend.
gonna be him or love. I
Yep.
mean, you can already put money on it.
Yep. They're between their cars and their skill. Like the rest of them are definitely fighting for third unless something happens. So then we move to the main event. So NASCAR moves up the race an hour for possible weather. It's good that they did because we end up getting all the laps in, and it thunderstormed like hell after the race concluded, and we would not have gotten to finish it. So we would have ended under rain and lightning holds and everything. So first off, we trash NASCAR all the time about their officiating, their decision making. For once, they did the right damn thing. We had good weather. They started the race. We got underway, and we ended up not getting trapped by weather. And for the first time in a long time, our official opening of the season for a points race wasn't hindered by weather, and that's
Yeah.
nice. Go ahead.
I wanted to backtrack just for a second.
Yep.
I looked for the odds for this coming weekend at Atlanta. I'm sorry, Echo Park, where the
Yep.
hell they want to call it this week. You want to make some money, Alan? Easy money. Easy money. Odds for Austin Hill plus 375 to plus 450, depending on where you go. That's easy money.
Yep.
You put 100 down, you get back 450. And then if you want to make even more money, if Jesse Love wins, we're plus 600.
Yeah, that's pretty much free money right there
Yeah,
because
like,
chances of them getting wrecked are not very high.
and then the next one in line is Algar at plus 900. And that's, I don't think that's going to happen. But the
No.
first two, you put some money down on either one of those, and you're going to make your money back.
Yep.
But anyway, but yes, Daytona, no weather stopping us.
Yep. So that was
And
nice.
they need to start Daytona 500 at one like they used to.
Yeah, I'd like to see him roll it back even further. So I'm gonna throw this in there just for anybody who's watching, listening that doesn't know. I own a bar restaurant in upstate New York, and with the how politically charged the climate is and everything, and the number of people that are like, I don't. America's an awful place, this, that, and the other. So Sunday comes, I turn on the Daytona pre-race and everything. We get to the national anthem, and I've got it on every TV. Everybody in my restaurant stands up, puts their hand over their heart. Like it was a wonderful patriotic experience. I love NASCAR fans. I love how patriotic our sport is, and just how much regardless of what's going on in the country, they love this country no matter what. They recognize from top to bottom just how blessed they are to be able to drive race cars for a living, to have the fan base, everything. So that was awesome to see to kick off that Sunday, as we got ready to race. So we dropped the green. We're an hour ahead of time. Kyle Busch stayed at the front for quite a while. I was surprised based on his dual performance that he was able to stay up there more than I thought. That was a really sharp car. I really liked that car with had the chrome trim around the number. I know we're talking about the racing, but just like as diecast collectors, you got your stuff. I've got mine in storage while I'm finishing this room. Uh, I appreciate a sharp paint scheme, and I really like that zone nicotine pouch car of his, with those subtle tweaks of the little red and yellow flames that went with it that end up in around the number trim and everything. It was sharp seeing that car at the front, and I really, for a while, my less than 10% chance belief of him winning the 500 went to about 15%. Not much, but the fact that he was up there and competitive for a little bit gave me a little hope. So go ahead.
Yeah, early on the first stage when they had that first caution, um, BJ McLeod,
Yeah,
I half the field came down and got fuel
yeah.
because the whole Daytona 500 is a fuel mileage race. That's all it is anymore. So half the field gets fuel, Kyle stays out, and
I'm
then the
not half the
second
field. The
caution.
whole field pitted, but him.
No, the first one half the
Oh
field,
no, you're right.
just
You're right.
over half.
Okay.
Then the second caution happens on like lap 20, I think it was,
Yeah.
and the rest the whole field pits at that point, and Kyle
Yeah.
stays out, and you're like, man, this is gonna burn them.
Oh yeah.
And then when he finally pits, people come with him, and you're looking around going, okay. And then he came out with everybody. Like he didn't like he had no fuel to come out with everybody, and he made it to the end. But what burned me up was the fact that the there was cars that pitted with everybody that pitted on lap 20, all but 10 of them pitted again, and the other 10 stayed on the track and won the damn stage.
Yeah.
Like, there's some people that aren't doing math right. Like, they're mathing bad.
Yeah.
Like, how is it that these 10 cars made it and then made pace laps, and then pitted? Everybody pits together. Like, I even said the same thing. So Larson pitted on lap 4 or 5 or whatever the hell that was that the cloud wrecked on.
Hmm.
Then he pitted before they went green. Pitted on lap 20 or whatever it was. Pitted before they went green. And then they pitted again with 10 laps to go. What are we doing? Like somebody ain't mathing right. How are you pitting all these times for fuel and you still aren't thinking you're going to make it, but yet your teammate, Alex Bowman, does make it? Like, figure it out. Don't pit a second time on a caution if you're not going to make it to the end of the stage. Like I'm assuming that the Talladega race last fall has made Cliff Daniels a little gun shy when it comes to fuel mileage.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I will say, I agree. The pitting calls were very interesting at the beginning of the race. And I will say that, in the first stage, especially, we saw, there were a couple things. First, in order to finish first, you must first finish. So
Mm-hmm.
everybody was very conservative. You didn't see too many crazy things happening. McLeod's stuff was a mechanical failure issue. Um, and it wasn't until we got to the second stage that you started to see some of the more desperate type or bad decisions start to creep in, or the habits of old. Because as we talked about with the preseason episode about how this finish, how these points are going to play out, I've got a spreadsheet in front of me, separate from NASCAR, because I'm doing a fantasy league, and there's some people in big holes already, like really big holes, um, and they're going to come to regret that in a bad way. Come very
Mm-hmm.
come very soon. So yeah, some people were risk averse. Larson finishes 21st, or accumulates a total of 21 points. So out of what, if you win the race, win everything, he got approximately 30% of the points that he could get. That's not a bad start to the year when, he used to be, snake bit at these races. So, I mean, for them, they
Well, he
probably,
snaked this one.
yeah. I'm just saying, in terms of, if you told me I could walk out of there with 20 points versus a single digit, I'll take the 20 points. If you
Yeah.
gave me that at every one of the one of those races, I probably would take that as an average finish, an average,
Well,
five.
you got to remember he got 8 of those points in the duel.
Yeah. So yeah, the total points scored so far for these guys. Now let's move on to stage two and
Mm-hmm.
Algar. So you got Algar at the front, and he's racing, and he's up there. And I can't. Who was he up there with when he wrecked?
Denny Hamlin.
No. Hamlin's who he got into the wreck with. Who was on his outside on the left? It was they were running side by side, but it's two guys that are not normally up there at the front.
Yeah, that was the 51.
Okay, the 51. Yep, that's right.
Cody
Where?
Ware.
So you got two guys who are not normally up the front leading, and
You got one guy that's not even in the series full time.
right, one is only in the series full time of those two. And Justin isn't used to this car's behavior, especially at drafting track. He qualified last year, but didn't have good luck last year in the duels. Still made the show, but barely. This year they handily made their way in, and he was just riding in both lanes essentially, blocking passively. And
And stage two, which
yeah,
is
in stage two he's doing this,
ridiculous.
which now I'm disappointed in Justin because he's a veteran. He was a Cup guy at one point, and then went back down, so he knows better. But I have to put the blame more on Hamlin, and I do think some of this is attributed to his lack of being locked in.
I
Because,
don't agree.
well, here's my reasoning why. Hamlin's raced in the chase before. Hamlin knows how important it is not to dig yourself a hole early in the season, and so, and we've talked about it before. You have to know your racing IQ matters. You have to know who you're racing and what they're racing for versus what you're doing and what you're racing for. Hamlin's racing for his fourth Daytona 500, and also a good points day for this, 26 weeks to start off this 26-week effort to get to the chase. So is it smart to put yourself in a hole that is there, but it's not really there with the way Justin's running at that particular moment in time? So in stage two, Justin shouldn't have been doing, double lane blocking essentially. But then I say I put some of the judgment against Hamlin just because you have to know who you're racing and what they're racing for. The 40 car is there for one thing only, to win that race. There's nothing else they're there to do. You are on a campaign for a championship and a fourth Daytona 500. And we're in the stage 2. We're not in stage 3. So why push the issue if you don't have to? That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's
Here,
entirely his fault, but Denny
here,
should have known better.
here's why I don't agree.
Okay.
Yes, Denny could have potentially woed up, but if he does, there is a car pushing him.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
remember who it was. They're literally locked in on his bumper. So what is he going to do?
Oh,
There's
yeah. He'll get
nowhere to
run over
go.
for sure. Like,
There's nowhere to go. So that's why, yes, he could have potentially hit the brakes, but you're still going to cause a wreck that way.
yeah.
Everybody knows that Allgaier should have gotten out of the way
Yeah.
for
He
two
just needed to
huge
pick a
reasons.
lane.
Two
Yeah.
huge reasons. One, we already said he's not even in the damn series. It's stage 2. You are not in it for what they're charging for. There's 8 laps to go in the stage 2. You are not in it for what they're doing. Get the hell out of the way.
Yeah.
Now, if it's 8 laps to go to win the 500, yeah, block whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
But we're talking about the end of a stage that means absolutely jack shit to you.
Yeah. You're not running the full schedule. You're not even running another race this year in that car,
Yeah.
as far as we know.
So that's
So,
why I disagree. He should have he shouldn't have tried to get up there. That was a terrible block, and it ultimately screwed half the field out of
oh,
winning
yeah.
potentially
It
winning the
was a
Daytona
big, big
500.
wreck. After that, we took out a lot of contenders. Um, later at the end of the race, Joey commented that, he didn't think his car was that damaged from that incident at that time. But when he went to pull out to like take the lead, it was like dropping a parachute. He realized, okay,
Very draggy.
this thing has more damage than I thought I had.
Yeah.
So,
I couldn't in the same sentence. I thought Larson was doomed. He had an entire front right fender
oh yeah,
gone, and he was
yep,
able to stay in the draft. And he never really tried to make any moves, but he could push with it. He could keep up, and I was just blown away that
hmm
a car could have that much damage and still do 190 miles an hour.
So further proof, we were talking about the composite bodies and how much of a tank these cars are. Byron's wrecked in the duel. He wrecks multiple times in the Daytona 500, gets into the
He
wall.
did go to a backup car after the duel,
Well,
though.
right, right. But after the duel, he goes to another car. He flat walls that one twice before we get to the
Twice.
third stage. Him and Algar
Then
are
gets
both.
involved in that wreck.
Yep, they both were actually. Algar was in that ahead of him, or no, he was behind him, right? Yeah, because Algar nosed it harder. It looked like. But either way, they both one look. Byron's was pretty flush, but either way, he's back there in the back getting into trouble because of the events earlier. Um, and yet, when we get to stage 3, there he is. Somehow, here comes big money Byron with the magic golden horseshoe, almost winning yet another fucking Daytona 500 out of nowhere.
With 5 laps to go, I thought, oh my God.
Yep, at 5 laps to go, here I see this
Everybody,
white and red flame car, and I was like, you have got to be shitting me that he is
this
somehow in
guy's been involved in every single fucking incident,
Yep,
and he still has a shot.
yeah, I was like, I was like, Blake is going to lose his shit if he wins a third one straight.
Well,
Because
I saw him in that wreck at the end of stage 2, and I said, thank God, there ain't no chance. And
yep,
then,
here
we're getting
comes,
ahead of ourselves a little bit,
yep,
but I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
yep, yep.
This guy has
And I'm
the
not rooting against
platinum
him because I
horseshoe
totally
up his
hate
ass.
Byron. I just couldn't believe after all the times he hit the wall, and here he comes, and he's, within 3 spots of winning the race again. And I'm like, fucking how is this possible? like, that car's got to be illegal. That's all I could say.
Yep.
So, but
So
so yeah,
who ends up winning stage 2? They actually end up running stage 2 out under caution.
yep. Zane Smith wins stage 2. Good for him. So another victory for front row right there.
Mm-hmm.
Wins the stage, leads up front, had strength, and fast cars. We get to stage 3, and all of a
This
sudden the
is
boredom begins.
this is where I come in for Chris here, and I mean we
Yep,
definitely would have got to it ourselves, but I'm gonna talk for
yep.
Chris here.
Go ahead.
Fans that may not know, I'm reading this verbatim. Fans that may not know need to be told about the 100% rule and why is it not enforced. Ultimately, showing the telemetry on TV proving that the leaders were only running 50 to 60% throttle for what 20 laps, 25 laps, 30.
It was close to
They
30
ran,
because I remember I fell asleep.
yeah,
How
and I
boring it was.
almost did. And three wide, 10 rows deep. Nobody tried to push anyone forward.
Mhm.
If you tried, we didn't see it. And Kyle Busch, so I had the race on the TV. I had Kyle Busch's on board on the TV, and I had Larson's on the TV. Kyle Busch came on the radio and said, "This is ridiculous. We could go 100 laps at this pace."
Mhm.
And that's not what people tune in to five. Now, there are some people that are, probably coming in on watching the Daytona 500, seeing three wide, and not really paying attention to the fact that they're 50% throttle. Oh my God, that's cool.
So,
That was not racing.
so two
Go
things
ahead.
about that. One, prior to the Daytona 500 and Speed Weeks or Speed, the first qualifier, NASCAR was asked if they're going to try and do anything to solve this problem. And Elton Sawyer, representing NASCAR, said, "We're looking at it, but if I turn off the media and I turn off the audio to the broadcast, if I just eyeball test it, I don't see a problem." So basically, we don't we don't see a problem that needs to be addressed. Okay, so they're fucking tone deaf,
Almost.
first off. Then I can rewind that back to Michael Waltrip saying the same fucking thing on Fox a year ago.
It looks cool. Oh my God, it looks so
It
cool.
looks so cool. So if it looks good, it does it matter if the common fan doesn't know the fucking difference? Yes, it matters. Then we get the Chase Briscoe post race. This is before we get, I know I'm jumping ahead, but Chase Briscoe is asked what would he give the good race pole number. He said, "How about I give the average speed or the my miles per gallon and my average throttle position 45." He rated the good race pole at 45% because he said I was using 45% throttle. So all that
It,
together, there is a serious problem with this style of racing when it comes to this because and then if Chris has got anything to add, I'll let you go back to it. Like I said, we got to within, I think it was roughly 60. Right after that, we got into 60 laps to go, and all of a sudden they all block up 3 lanes, and I'm sitting there in the recliner, and I'm watching it 5, 6 laps in, 7 laps in, and there's literally nothing happening on the track. I don't dismiss the amount of skill it takes to do that lap after lap and not hit each other. Don't get me wrong, but it was so bad. I literally fell asleep till 15 to go. That's how boring that was to watch as a fan. After what we got for stage one and stage two, that happened, and then I finally ended up taking a power nap because it was so bad to watch. Up until that point, the race had been good. They were racing 2 wide and on occasion 3 wide, and people were passing and they were taking runs. I don't know why. I mean, I know why they did it. I just don't know how we solve this problem. I've got a couple suggestions, but like that, man, it was just bad. Go ahead.
23,607 votes on Jeff Cluff's Good Race poll.
I haven't looked at it. What's it at?
74% said it was good. It goes to show you how many people are not understanding what's going on. That the entire race is a fuel mileage race.
Yeah,
That's not what racing is.
yeah.
Sometimes, yes, it should be like that. Like you pit, before stages, you know, you have a caution with this many laps to go. You can only run 70 laps on fuel. You take the green with 72 to go, and you kind of, you know, you clutch it going in the corners. Brad Keselowski was really good at it in the 2 car. Uh, you know,
Mm-hmm.
those type of situations. But this is the entire race every year, since 22. This is what we do. we save fuel all the damn time, and it's boring.
Yep.
And I said it in our duel episode, like you need to you need to make a rule to where if you are leading the race or if you're in the top three or whatever at one of these tracks, you're topped out. You know, there needs to be a minimum throttle capacity at these races, and if you go below it for any amount of time, set an amount of time per lap or whatever, you get black flagged. Simple as that.
Yeah.
You have telemetry on all these cars. You can see their throttle responses. Have a guy designated to watch 10 cars, so you get four guys designated to watch X amount of cars, and if they go below that percentage, black flag them.
I know we don't want to see this as fans, but I almost wish NASCAR would be like, okay, you guys don't want to race all out? That's fine. We'll take away half your fucking horsepower. Then you can just stand on the throttle all day long. You can run around at
They'll
100.
still do it, Alan.
I know.
They'll
I
still
know.
do it.
But so that was a major momentum killer for the race for me, for you, for a lot of pure race fans. Clearly, the we line up to watch them. Rec group didn't seem to give a shit because it looked cool on TV so far. Apparently, 75% said it was good enough. And that's their opinion. I would wholeheartedly disagree as a purist. Thank God the whole season isn't those kind of races.
First two races are there, right?
Yeah. Well, unlike Daytona, Atlanta won't allow you to do that. It's too tight of confines and it's too
They still
fast
do it, dude.
scale of track. They'll still try and do it, but it's not as easy to control that way. Where
But
Daytona and Dega are wide enough, you can do it a little bit easier.
so to go with the same thing, this is with Chris as well. It's the same thing, different topic, same situation. Race manipulation is what that was.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
had three Toyotas, bottom,
Different
middle,
team.
top, telling the driver over the radio to block traffic and slow the field down. That is race manipulation at its finest.
Yep.
That is a one manufacturer telling you to slow the field down to 50% throttle. I saw one time it was 45% throttle.
It was.
And NASCAR's okay with that?
Yeah.
We're going to block the field. Three Toyotas block the field and say, sorry, how you going to get by us? We're going to go, I'm surprised they didn't take it down to 30% throttle. They could have. What were they going to do about it?
Yeah.
You cannot allow a manufacturer to sit in front of the field and dictate pace like that to save
No,
fuel.
they have to do something. You know,
And
if multiple
ultimately,
manufacturers decide to do it, that's one thing.
they won the damn race.
Mm-hmm. So we finish after 30 laps of snoozing. Literally, it was boring as hell. We break off into pit stops, and then we resume. And Michael McDowell is out on an island all his own.
Dude, I think he's going to win the 500.
Yep, I think they had timed it where he was going to come up into traffic, and it looked like when they all caught him, it looked like it was going to work out anyway. Because here he and Hocevar again, we saw their speed in the duels, we saw their speed at the Clash. Here's Spire, who consequently now, there's less. Um, I'm not. I don't know if I want to say less impact, but less of your destiny is in your control at these races than others. But Spire
Right.
picked up Chris Gabehart over the offseason. I don't think it's a coincidence that their cars are at the front of the field now, two races in a row, or three
Yeah.
technically. They are stepping up, and I'm actually excited to, to me, we can't get through the next three races fast enough to when we get to Vegas, our first mile and a half, because that's where we're going to see what
Well,
impact
yeah,
he's had
Phoenix
on their
before
stuff.
Vegas.
Yeah, but I'm excited for Vegas because when we get to the first mile and a half track and we see how fast their cars are compared to where they were a year ago,
Yeah.
I think we're going to get a real good idea of what kind of impact he has on Spire. But so 1 minute, two laps to go. I think, okay, Hocevar and McDowell have played this right. One of those two is going to win it. And then Byron and who else wreck? Logano? No, Logano's in the second one. A bunch of cars wreck during the second to last lap. Then we come back around. Then I'm thinking, okay, Chase Elliott and these guys are going to win it, or Brad Keselowski's going to win it. And then the one thing that I saw on that final lap that I wish, this is what I wish we could do at Daytona. I wish you could outlaw 2-lane racing at Daytona. Because once those cars were all in a single line like a snake and they were run and pass and run and pass, and you saw Reddick weaving his way through and Chase weaving his way through and everything, that was some of the best racing all day.
Mm-hmm.
Because they slowed them up, so the runs they got, they could take, and you would take it, and then this guy would take it, and this guy would take it on that final lap. And it was fantastic, that last set of 2 laps. But you had so many possible outcomes. And then we have that big wreck coming to the white, and they're racing. And then you look up, and here's Reddick, Logano, Keselowski, Stenhouse, Elliott. You know, you have this wealth of people, all of which are very experienced and have won this race or have been close to winning it. Wallace and Herbst, surprisingly. And Reddick, they let him run all the way to the finish. And Reddick comes home with the victory, clinching the second crown jewel for 23XI in 6 months, and their second victory of 2026 after winning the lawsuit. So, yeah, what'd you think of those last 2 laps? Because it was a lot.
Well, up until that last lap, when there was a wreck that was bigger than Fox showed.
Oh yeah, by far. Yep, I was going to let you touch on that.
Chris put on there that they were consistent with cautions all weekend. I would agree with that until then.
Yep.
You can't have a wreck that big and not throw a caution. You just can't.
Yeah, the fan footage showed what we didn't see on TV. That was a
15
massive
cars. Yeah,
cars all over the place. So when you go back and look at that in retrospect, it's not a good look for NASCAR to see them letting them run it back to the line when it's clearly a safety issue, and you got cars everywhere, and you got emergency vehicles coming on the track.
it was more exciting to see them run the line. Yes.
Oh yeah.
But if you do it like years past, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. wins the 500.
Yep.
Not Tyler Reddick.
No,
I
and
feel
honestly,
bad
if
for the
you
47 team because they were in the lead when the caution should have come out.
yeah. Yep. And the chef is on his way to victory lane. Chef Boyardi.
But
So
I mean, the racing, I agree with you. The racing there the last few laps was nuts, and that's what you tune in for. With the end of these races, when you actually get to see them full out and see what is possible, that is so fun to watch because the runs they get are insane, but you don't get to see it until 5 to 10 laps to go when these fuel mileage what they've made them into being fuel mileage races. So it was awesome to watch. Like again, I'll tell you, they should have threw a caution. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., in my opinion, won the race, not Tyler Reddick, but you know, up until that point, they were consistent with cautions all weekend. They didn't throw a caution for the 17 cars spinning in the O'Reilly series, and they shouldn't have because he
yeah.
kept going, and that's there was I think there was another thing in the O'Reilly series where somebody spun out in the infield and they kept it green because they should.
Yep.
There's
And
if
then
they
we
don't
had a
hit
caution
nothing
where
and they're not in the
somebody
way,
looked like they were going to wreck it, and they didn't, but we had a caution anyway. And where they were able to straighten it out, where I felt like, but when it comes to cautions, I can say that NASCAR is consistently inconsistent when it comes to cautions.
Mhm.
They've gotten better, but there's still a long way to go.
I,
I attribute
if
that
it,
more to the TV because, and I say this because of this. Kevin Harvick, Clint Boyer, the other guy, Dale said it before. They want you to call the race off of what the monitors show, which is a reflection of the TV, not what you see out the glass. Well, if you're doing that, then you're bound to whatever the TV camera show, and the TV camera framed in on just the front pack and wasn't showing that wreck. If the drivers were calling the race, if the guys in the booths were calling the race off of what they saw at the glass, and you saw that big wreck, and the camera showed that big wreck, NASCAR would have had no choice but to throw a caution. But there's no other way to excuse that. You can't have that and have them.
Yeah, but now you have controversy
Yep,
because people have seen this now, and they
yep,
go, "Why?"
yep. Now you do actually have to explain yourself because it's again, it falls back into the whole full throttle versus 45% throttle thing. You can't be affected by what you don't know. But now the problem is, I do know. I do know that NASCAR was reckless and endangering people. I do know that they didn't call a caution when there was a blatant reason for it. So now later, when somebody slaps the wall with like a loose tire or whatever, bristling, throw a caution, that's going to look fucking ridiculous compared to you didn't throw a caution. And there were 15 cars parked down in the infield destroyed.
Which
Like what?
then you in turn destroyed 5 more cars.
Yep. And then so as a result, coming to the line, there was literally one car left, one, and it's the guy that won the damn race. Everybody else, the top five, were all coming. The majority of the top five finishers had to be interviewed out of the infield care center.
Hey, I gotta say this. I told you I was watching Kyle Busch's onboard.
Yep.
With 2 laps to go, he came out of the pack. He was
Yeah, he backed
30th.
up.
And they said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm not getting involved in this shit." They're like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, there's gonna be a big wreck. I'm not gonna be involved in it." And he ended up finishing 15th.
Yep. Which was smart because again, if I want to make the top 16, and RCR hasn't been running as good as they need to, why would I give up free points? Just like Cody
Mm-hmm.
Ware in the past has finished well there. BJ McLeod's finished well in the past there. JJ Yaley, like some of your top finishers, Zane Smith, that eke out a top 10, a top 12 day at these races. Like these are free points. Let the idiots, which is
The
what some
idiots.
of these guys were, be idiots. And when they say it in every sport, but especially, they said it in Moneyball, the movie. Again, when your opponents are making mistakes, don't stop them. Don't
Yep.
interrupt them. Let them do it. Okay,
Yep.
so he finished 15th. Now, did he finish top five? No, but you know where he didn't finish? Last.
Yeah.
He didn't finish with a torn up car that's not usable again. They can cut that front panel off, and this car is still good for Talladega or for next week because
Yep.
he didn't go wad it up and beat the front up and the back and the sides and so they had speed. They qualified well. They could come back and work on it for handling. He starts the season strong points wise, and as a result, that car lives to fight another day. And Kyle Busch, of all people, has a reason to back out of it. He broke his legs in 2015
Mm-hmm.
driving into that shit
Yep.
because of
And
the stick in it. Like, I don't blame him one bit. He might have been the only smart person yesterday.
so to go to something that we've been talking about the whole show, go backtrack a little bit. Who took the white flag as the leader?
Wasn't it Hocevar?
Carson, Carson Hocevar.
Yep.
And there's potential he wins the 500, but Toyota and Eric Jones decided to bump him in the right rear where we know you
Yeah.
can't do it, and created chaos.
Yep.
And
That's where he, Byron, all those guys, came.
that wasn't a block. That wasn't a bad block. It was just a bad push.
Yep. Bad push.
And uh, I feel bad for the kid. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
we DBC, everybody has ridden him hard, but he has shown this weekend and at the Clash that he's got something going for him, and
He's
hopefully
here.
that can continue.
He's here. He will, I think we all, if I go back and look at it in our podcast and pull in my picks, we all picked him to win this year. I have no doubt in my mind that will still happen. Where I think it's
You
in,
picked him to win? I know I did.
let me go to that's the game, episode 2. Here we go. Season predictions. All right. So, yeah, my predictions, I have Hocevar. Where'd I put him? Oh, no, I didn't pick him to win, but I have him.
You
I had
nor
him
Chris.
making my final 16.
Okay.
My only question was, if he's going to be disciplined enough to win it, but he's there. I mean, he's definitely. I regret not picking him now. Looking at how he's opened the year, I mean, there's lots of racing left to go, but how he's opened the Clash, the first, the Duel, and now the Daytona 500. If he stays the way, if he races this way all 26, the remaining 25 races, you're going to have to deal with him come the chase because he's had speed. He hasn't been making bad decisions so far, and we're very early in the season, but he's showing signs of developing into that next level of driver. So,
The last thing I have for Chris
yep, okay. And then I want to talk about Reddick.
is, well, two things. He said, thank you for moving the race up an hour.
Yep.
Which I think, like I said before, they need to do that every week.
Yep.
Not only did we talk about the horrible block by Auger, but the horrible block by Herbst coming to the checker flag on the 6 car. That was insanely stupid and could have killed somebody.
Well, I mean, Riley Herbst is an idiot, so I'm not too surprised there. And he's racing for his job. So once again, and here's a guy who just broke his leg that's in this kind of accident. So thankfully, Brad wasn't hurt, didn't re-injure his leg as far as we know. I would like to. I think Jeff Gluck said something about the old man with the cane chasing the kid down the road. I would love to see Brad chase Herbst and whip his ass with that cane. That would have been funny as shit. But yeah, so Reddick wins, and this is big for a couple of reasons. We talked about it in our preseason predictions and who was going to win and everything. I don't think I picked Reddick to win at all. I had him in my 16. Yeah, I have him in my 16.
Oh, I did. I had him winning Chicago, I think.
I didn't have him winning, not because of lack of talent, but because of lack of focus. So what this does, that I'm happy for him as hell, because I look at his year last year. Okay, so 23-11 is struggling because they got resources dedicated to preparation for the court case. They've got and all those things that are taken away from it there. Reddick also personally has his son in the ICU. And so for Reddick to come out after last year and all that turmoil that he went through to then win this major event, and then for 23-11, like this was just a major milestone for him in so many ways and cathartic. You know, he's back in victory lane after going. Did he win last year? I don't think he did. He went winless last year. Yeah, so he went winless last year after winning several races the year before and being the regular season points leader. So he went from that to winless, and basically not even even though he had a decent points year, he just basically not even being in the discussion the majority of the year. But not knowing us as fans, not knowing everything going on behind the scenes with his family, that then comes out later with and then you get to see he gets to bring Bo, who was in the ICU, to victory lane. Like that was just NASCAR as a sport guarantees you so many good storylines, year after year. So in a year where we've talked about a lot of different negatives to start this season, but at the same time, there are a lot of really nice positives to start this season with the changes we've had with the points format. And the other thing that I want that just on Reddick in general and 23-11, this victory guarantees you nothing. You could have 10 bad races after this. Look at Christopher Bell last year. He won 3 out of the first 5 and then wasn't heard from again for a while. Like there's no guarantee of success, but unlike last year where he had those wins to sit on to get him into the playoffs, winning the Daytona 500 does not mean you're going to make the final 16. It gives you a nice start and points earned for what he earned this weekend, but it's zero guarantee that he's going to be in the final 16 and 25 more races. So
currently he has a 12-point lead over Logano, and he has a 31-point lead over 16th, who is.
So I've got them all right in front of me.
Is Noah Gragson.
Yep, I've got them. So if I sort my sort and filter, and I sort largest to smallest. So Reddick is at 58 points. Zane Smith has 41 points scored so far this season, officially.
Why'd
The
you say James Smith?
38. He scored 41 points. Sorry, he scored 41 points in that race.
Oh, you're okay. I thought you were going to do something else.
So when you're looking at who's where already in the standings, this is just crazy already where we're at. He's got, like I said, Logano's got 46. But Smith has 41 total points scored. Um, yeah, I'm not
Stenhouse,
counting. I don't have the duels
Escobar,
in my.
Herb.
Yeah, I don't have the duels in my. I'm just doing 36 races for 36 races in this deal, so I'll switch back over to NASCAR's thing. So when you look at who came out of this thing strong, a year ago, Brad Keselowski finished seventh in terms of most points scored on the season, and he had a horrible start to the season. This year, he's got 39 points after the first race. Him and Busher are both comfortably inside the top 10 already. When you go to the bottom and you look at who's got these low points, oh my
Chase
gosh.
Briscoe
Chase
has
Briscoe's 2 points.
2 points.
Bowman, 4 points. Connor Zilich, 5 points. Denny Hamlin,
Christopher
8 points.
Bell.
Christopher Bell, 9 points. All these guys that are in single digits that you expect to make the top 16 at the end of the year,
They're already in a hole.
they are in a big hole because for every bad finish, it's going to take multiple stage wins and or multiple race wins as these things go on. If you have another one of these type days next week or this coming weekend at Atlanta, you're in for a world of hurt going forward.
And then you go into a road course.
Yep, and
Like
then we
you
drop into Dakota. Yeah. So,
so
you know, your guys that are the biggest thing right now, I said it a minute ago, when your opponents make a mistake, don't interrupt them. If you're up
yep.
here in the top right now, if you're Reddick, Logano, Chase, I expect you to be there anyway. But if you're Zane Smith, Ricky Stenhouse,
You
Carson
gotta be careful
Hocevar,
just be careful next week and you'll
Daniel
hold it.
Suarez, Josh Berry, Kyle Busch, Noah Gragson, Michael McDowell, even and I'd say down to John Nemechek. You have 25 points. You have more than double the A-list guys that are down below that are expected
Yep.
to make it. And while 9 points doesn't seem like much, with two of those races starting off the year, it's not hard to end up with only scoring 1 point, which my game with my family doesn't include the duels. So if you're just going one race at a time and you take none of that extra stuff out of it, they're even worse off. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there were three guys yesterday that only scored 1 point: Austin Dillon, Chase Briscoe, and Todd Gilliland. Bowman only scored 3. Bell only scored 2. Zilich scored 4, and Hamlin scored 6. Those bottom 6 competitors right there, that's a massive hole to the 58 points that Tyler Reddick scored by winning the race, being in the stages, the 15-point bonus for winning the race. Zane Smith with 41 points just from that race by leading the stage and finishing well.
We forgot to mention that Bubba Wallace won the first stage.
Yep, Bubba Wallace. So Toyota had a really good day. They won 2
Yep.
of the 3 stages. Front row and 2311 won the stages and the race, respectively, across the board in terms of, again, the lawsuit. NASCAR has a sense of irony. So
Mm-hmm.
your inside the race events were won by your lawsuit plaintiffs, and then your race was won by one of the plaintiffs. So that's just, again, NASCAR always delivers a sense of irony. So
Yep. The
let's
last thing I have for the 500 is Jimmy Johnson announced next year's will be his last.
Yep. I don't really have much to say about that. I mean, he hasn't had very much success in this car in his one-offs. I think it's been proven you can't come run this car as a hobby. I think if he went and ran the old car, if they were still in the Gen 6, or if he was running Xfinity races, or now Grand National, it'll take a while to get rid of saying that, but I think he would have more fun, and he would probably do better because those are more his style. This car is just such on a razor's edge. Now, yesterday was none of his fault. Where before he's driven into wrecks and everything, he was just a byproduct of that massive wreck because he was in it. He went through the smoke. He had an opportunity to possibly finish in the top 10 yesterday, up until the chaos in the final 2 and 3 laps. So
Yep.
I'll be glad when he's done, just because I'm sure Mitch feels this way as well. I think of Jimmy Johnson as the 7-time champion. Seeing him run subpar with how he's capable of, I'd feel the same way if I saw Jeff Gordon come in and just hop in and do poorly. I don't want to see him come in and tear down his legacy.
Yeah. Oh, and also with that, the rumor that I've read here recently, I don't think it's a really great source, but it's a decent enough source. They've been right before. Uh, Jesse Love will be racing for their third team at Legacy Motor Club.
Oh, really? Well, that would be a good get for them.
Because they
I
got the
mean,
charter from Rick Ware
okay.
starting next year, so they'll have a three-car team.
Yep.
The rumor that I heard this past weekend is Jesse Love will be in the third car for Legacy.
So let's talk about them for just a second. Legacy Motor Club. Those guys, they also came out of the race, out of the garage swinging after the winter. They, you saw John Hunter lead a lot. You saw Jones up there be strong. That's good. They're in their third year now, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So this is their third year, uh, and with Toyota, but not aligned with Gibbs or 2311. So they're out there on
They
their own.
they're going to have one next year with Gibbs.
Okay. Well, I mean, up until this point, though, they haven't had one. So to see the success they have had in terms of they continue to take steps forward. John Hunter scored a lot of points last year, was in the conversation a lot last year. Jones, same thing, continually runs well at certain tracks. I do want to go back to one thing about Austin Hill. And this format specifically, I feel bad for Austin Hill. Back in the winning year in days, certain guys would love to go to certain tracks because they knew like this is my chance to get into the playoffs. This is going to lock me in. Well, he's got 6 races he's going to win, and it may not make a damn bit of difference in making the final. Because if he has bad luck at the
He's gonna be in
he's
their
going to be in
chase.
it. But what I'm saying, no, I mean, he was going to be in the final 4 last year, and then he got penalized. So for being
Yeah,
being for
he's
being
got to
Austin
keep
Hill,
himself out of trouble, and he'll be fine.
yeah, if he doesn't do what Austin Hill does to Austin Hill,
Yeah.
he'll be fine. If he doesn't knock somebody out because he's grain fed, and if he doesn't wreck somebody deliberately into the corner, he'll be fine. But
Oh my God.
I do feel bad for him because he's got 6 races, or I don't know how many there are in the Xfinity. It might be 4.
5.
5. Okay, so he's got 5 pretty much guaranteed trophies to his name, kind of like how SVG has with the road courses. Like nobody's going to take this from you but you. And now
Yeah.
it doesn't even lock you in for a championship. Now it's going to set him up really well because he's going to get, of those 5 chances,
He's gonna get max points.
he's going to get max points at least 3 of them. I would give him 3 out of 5. There's
Well,
chances to wreck it
that's
too.
something I need to look at real quick before we go off here.
So
Did he win all the stages?
yeah, yep,
Okay.
yeah. He got
Uh,
maximum. He should have got maximum points from what I recall. Yeah, he got max points. He's at 75 points to start the year. He's got 25 points on Justin Allgaier already.
yeah. So yeah, 25 points, and then let's see who at the bottom is supposed to be a contender. Brandon Jones is 67 points out. Harrison Burton,
Sam Mayer is
67 points
69
out.
points out. Taylor Gray is 66 out.
Corey Day is 65. Uh, William
Shelton
Sawalich
Creed's
is
57.
53 out.
Like, there's some guys in that group that are in a big damn hole already.
Yeah, it's
I mean, even
yeah.
Roger Carruth is 41 points back, and he's in 8th
He's
place.
an 8th. I was just looking at that. That's crazy.
They better thank God they don't have to race 2 plate races in their chase, because otherwise he could just go run those 2 and win it. Oh my God. Like that's
But
how
yeah,
bad an advantage he has. Like he's the SVG of their series. No, hands down.
and to go back to the truck series,
Yep.
uh, the guy driving the 11 is showing he's good this year
Yep,
as well.
Honeycutt, and
Uh,
he's 31 points back of Chandler Smith already. That's crazy. In fifth place, you're 31 points back.
mhm.
Let's see who's down
We
here that I would expect to be
uh,
up front.
I'm
Grant
gonna get
Enfinger
the
is
results.
56 points back. Daniel Hemrick is 53 back. Lane Riggs is 50 back. Justin Haley, you would expect to be up there. I mean, he just came out of the Cup program. He was competitive at college. He's 50 back. Like Mini Tyrell, we'll see what he brings. Daniel Dye typically runs well. He's 45 back. Um, Tanner Gray, 42 back. Like there's some big names. 39
Tony
back Ben
Stewart,
Rhodes in
62
10th.
back.
At 10th place and you're 39 points back. Like,
Yeah.
man. Like,
Well,
okay,
he
so
won at
just
winning the
after
Nutter, and there it is.
I said when I was watching the Grand National race on Saturday when they were doing some dumb shit, knowing that they couldn't beat Austin Hill, that these guys were going to learn real quick that you cannot afford to be stupid or you're going to dig yourself a hole you can't get out of real quick. And just going through what we just went through in those points after one race, and granted, depending on the series, you've got 25 races, 23 races, 20 races respective, something like that to make it up. You don't have a lot of wiggle room, you know, and that many opportunities. And then you have to think about where your program is. How often do you guys typically score stage points? How often do you typically compete for a win? Where you're going to have an opportunity to collect those maximum points bonuses. You really cannot afford to spot somebody like Austin Hill a 25-point head start over you.
Yep.
And in this case, some of those other guys, he's 40 points ahead of you. You're
Yep.
not going to see him the rest of the season unless he DNFs.
Yep.
Like, he's already gone. You're bye.
Yep.
So like that's just crazy. Like we're gonna see how this point system plays out this year, but it's gonna be interesting.
Yep.
So
Well, I gotta get going. We gotta get
yep,
something to eat.
yep, same. I'm good. We're after week one, some big people, big names with some big holes across all three series to dig themselves out of, and we're
Some
going
of them
to
are in craters.
yeah, some of them are like they can't even see the top. Yeah, they're like down in a hole that's got a curve. So
Yep.
we'll see what they do this coming weekend at Echo Park, Atlanta
Well,
slash Coda,
well,
the Echo Park suite of tracks that are coming
yeah.
next week. All right. Appreciate it, buddy. I'll talk with you later.
Yep.
I'll get these uploaded. Thank you,
We'll
everybody,
see
for
y'all
listening.
next Sunday night.
See y'all next Sunday. We'll see
Later.
what chaos Atlanta brings us. Hopefully, it's worn out some more, and we
Oh,
spread out.
definitely is after the winter we had.
Yep. All right. Till next time.